I think now we can maybe go to the next topic, to the third session, that will be hosted by my colleague Loïc, who is in charge of communication and of the training department. Maybe you had the possibility to discuss or to be in touch with Loïc amongst different IFCU activity. And he will host the next session with Marianne Mount, Dr. Marianne Mount of the Catholic Distance University in USA. So Loïc, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Nicolas. Thank you to all the participants. I'm going to introduce the next topic on virtual exchanges and challenges for professors. So Marianne Mount is the president of Catholic Distance University, a member of IFCU, and we are pleased that she accepted to make a presentation on a project that we jointly operate in the last months. I will contextualize a little bit this project. So at the beginning of the pandemic, IFCU tried to organize a project with members universities in order to give some tools to our professors in our network, and this project has been organized with Catholic Distance University for the English part, organized with the Pontifical University of Chile for the Spanish part, and with the Catholic University of Louvain for the French part. So it was a huge international project, and we give trainings to more or less 100 of teachers in our universities. So the training modules in English, as I mentioned, these were organized by Catholic Distance Universities, and the idea was to provide our teachers with necessary tools and knowledge regarding e-learning so they can familiarize themselves with this different pedagogy and ensure pedagogical continuity. And Marianne Mount, Catholic Distance University President, will give a presentation focusing on the teaching specificities and the pedagogy of online teaching and what it means in terms of challenges for the faculties. Marianne Mount became president of Catholic Distance Universities in 2008. She served in a variety of leadership positions since the founding of Catholic Distance University in 1983. I must mention that Catholic Distance University is a virtual campus or virtual campuses, if I may say, and she is an accomplished scholar who earned a PhD in human development from Virginia Tech in 2008. Marianne holds many degrees in a variety of academic disciplines. Marianne earned a Bachelor of Arts in English from Skidmore College and a Master of Arts in English and Education from Columbia University Teachers College. She received a Master of Arts in Religious Education from the Pontifical University of St. Thomas Aquinas, and she furthered her religious education with an advanced catechetical diploma from the Vatican Congregation for the Clergy. She also completed graduate courses in distance education at Penn State University. So Marianne, it is my pleasure to welcome you in this session, and I give you the floor.
Thank you very much, Louis. I think it's clear I'm an old lady from that introduction. But I just want to say what an honor it was for us to partner with IFCU and to work with Nicolas and Louis, and to have the opportunity to interact with faculty all over the world. It was really an exciting experience for us. And Louis has kind of given you a background about my school. We are the only fully and exclusively online Catholic university in the United States. And we're very specialized. We do theological education. So we have kind of a unique background. And I would say our program was called Teaching in a Digital World. I like to think of it as teaching and learning in a digital world, because online education, distance education, is a systems approach. So it's not just the teaching and it's not just the learning, but you have to provide a full systematic support for students, because when students learn at a distance, they have different needs from those who are in the classroom. So obviously the pandemic was a very difficult and challenging time. I will say for CDU, we were just continuing to do what we've always done. It actually grew our enrollments, because I think that learners discovered, some learners, that they actually preferred online, and some faculty discovered that they actually liked teaching online. I think students were drawn to CDU because they recognize that we've been doing it online since 2000, but distance ed since 1984. And they wanted to go to a school that had that kind of experience. So anyway, just to let you know, we were founded by a bishop, but not because we love technology. Obviously, technology is the enabler for us, but we are very mission driven. And we were inspired by Vatican II, the universal call to holiness, the distinct vocation of the laity, the need for formation and education lifelong. So distance education enabled us to deliver education directly to the learner, rather than the learner having to accommodate the schedule of the institution. So that was really the inspiration for us. You know, we recognize that St. Paul was the first distance educator. So this is nothing new for the church. And we understand today probably the most precious gift that we have is our time. And people are so busy today, you know, with families and careers and caregiving and all of those responsibilities, that it's important to enable learners to create their own schedule. So those are kind of that's the inspiration, the background for our school. And then just to move into the pedagogy of online, which is very different from the traditional classroom pedagogy. I wanted to mention in 2008, the US Department of Education did a meta-analysis of all the research, and there were over 200 studies comparing online to the classroom. And what they found was that for working adults, for adult learners, the online was actually had higher learning outcomes. And the best learning outcomes came from a hybrid model, which we're very open to. We haven't been able to do that yet, but it makes sense that you can take the best of online and the best of the classroom and put them together. But we were really gratified to see the high learning outcomes from online. So, you know, so many people have questioned it in comparison to the classroom, but I use that research to inform our faculty that we do not try to recreate the classroom. That's not why we use technology. We try to understand how the technology influences learning, and then we try to maximize the benefits of that. So we try to create an online experience that provides the best learning outcomes for our students. So some of the benefits of studying online versus the classroom. And again, what I found over the years is that more introverted learners tend to love the online, and the more extroverted who love the the excitement and impact of face-to-face discussion actually prefer the classroom. So I think that's good to keep in mind. But in the online experience, in our classroom, there's an equality of participation. We require weekly discussion. The students are graded on the quality of what they propose, and everybody has to do it. So, in a traditional classroom, frequently the extroverts tend to dominate and the introverts tend to, step back and not necessarily participate in the discussion. So I think that's a benefit also because the students have to write and they are able to edit. It improves their writing skills and it challenges them to create their own persona, their personality to the rest of the class through language, which I think is a wonderful experience. And then they're also, the students in an online class are not distracted necessarily by physical appearance. That can be good, but it can also be a negative. And there's a kind of a contemplative quality to the online. There's a kind of a quietness because students are going online at a time that suits them best. So there's a more relaxed kind of atmosphere. And the research has shown that we do asynchronous predominantly, which means that within a week you can log on and work at your own convenience. That there's actually deeper cognitive reflection rather than having like a synchronous experience where everybody's like on the spot to react and to respond. And so I'm going to talk about how we do asynchronous, but also ways to incorporate the synchronous technology as well and to make the most of that. So we did a 4-week training and we worked with Louvain and Nicholas to agree on what would be the most beneficial for faculty. So week 1, I taught, and because of my background, I wanted to share the research about online distance education, which goes way back and is international, because I didn't want them to think that distance education came about because of the pandemic. There's a great research base and a great history about it. And so then I moved into the pedagogy, and I can mention the pedagogy that we use. And also the importance of fostering human presence when you're online. And then I proposed a Christian model of pedagogy, of online pedagogy. And I based that on the letters of recent Holy Fathers in the World Communications Day messages, where they talk about digital networks. And it's amazing because they get it, they recognize the potential for education and for the church. So then we moved into week 2. I had 2 faculty, including my academic dean, teach week 2. And they talked about course design, different types of media, the student experience, different learning platforms. Now we use Canvas, and in our experience with IFCU, we encountered a number of different learning platforms. But we were surprised a number also use Canvas. So, and then some of them are very creative and entrepreneurial, and they were able to do online education without a platform. So anyway, it was great. And then what are the challenges, of using technology? So what the research shows is that when students are studying online, they not only have to learn the content of the class, but they have to know the technology. And sometimes that can be a challenge. So faculty have to be aware, and the school needs to make sure that there are ways to help students who are struggling with the technology. I think about the faculty that we met with from Lebanon, and they were telling us that at 6 p.m. every night, the electricity is shut down. So, they have to be conscious of what they're requiring and the schedules. And not all students have the same access to technology. So that was something that we're not as sensitive about, because in the United States, we've got 5G networks. I mean, I very rarely now hear of a student who's having technology connectivity issues. So those are all things to think about. And then we moved into week 3, and I had 2 faculty who taught week 3 and 4 together. They kind of team taught it. So week 3, we looked at the differences between synchronous and asynchronous learning, accessibility, flexibility, the role of the instructor, the importance of discussion, how to do group collaborative work, which is so great when you're studying online, communication, the importance of a good syllabus, assignments, how do you ensure that the reading assignments are helping the students and the students are getting the important points from the reading. And then we moved into week, sorry, my phone is going off here. So we moved into the student support, which is key. You know, as I mentioned, online education, it's distance ed is really a systems approach. So, you know, you've got to think about student support, library, facilities, financial issues, coaching of students, all of those things need to be a concern for a school that's teaching online. So I noticed that these 2 faculty members, and I was just, you know, I went back and was looking at their modules. So they gave this a really, I think, effective little, I forget what you call it, but they called it KEY. So they said the K is for keeping in contact. So the KEY was their little acronym for best practices of online. So they said, remember KEY, right? KEY is for keeping in touch. So for faculty, they actually sometimes find the online is more demanding, right, with their time, because discussions can really go a completely different direction very quickly. So the faculty member has to be in every day. So I asked faculty to please go in 6 days a week. So, you know, we take Sunday off. It's a day of rest, but it's really intensive. So and again, you don't need to be in there for a long time, but, you know, it's good to go in the morning, stop in the afternoon, maybe check it again at night. So that and then the students know that their professor is going to be there and is keeping an eye, you know, and caring about what they do and how well they do it. So that was the K, keep in contact. E is for engage. And I think that's really the secret of a good learning experience for students, keeping them engaged, having class discussion every week, reaching out to them to see if they need help. You can easily identify the students who are struggling, who maybe haven't started right away. And so one thing we do, and the research has shown that no matter how many online courses a student takes, there is a degree of anxiety at the beginning of every course. Because, you know, is the technology going to work? Am I going to figure out how this professor wants things done? I don't know the other students. Am I going to be the stupidest, dumbest person in the class? And especially with adult learners, they have huge anxiety. They don't want to be humiliated. So we let them into the class the weekend before. So we always start on Monday and they can go in on Friday and take a look at the class. You know, they can look at the syllabus, look at how it's planned out for the term, just to help them relax and not feel so stressed by Monday morning. And what we find is the students who don't show up until Friday are usually the ones that do the poorest. So we really encourage them to get into it and get going as soon as possible. So another unique thing about CDU, and that is that we have a student life center. So it's where students can go to meet each other. They can go there before classes start. We have an online chapel. We use pronto texting, so the students can, you know, communicate with each other. We used to have a cafe, but they actually like to text now, so we shut down the cafe. We have rooms where students in a particular program can get together with each other. If they're preparing for their comprehensive exams, they can get together. We have a lot of military students. They have their own place to meet. So we have a lot of activities for them to encourage them to interact with each other in a social way, not an academic way. So anyway, I think that also helps to build a sense of community in an online school. So, as Louis said, we don't have a campus and the students only come together once a year. We have a graduation mass and, we have a gala fundraising, big dinner event. And so they can come to that. But otherwise, they're all over the country, they're all over the world, and they don't have that opportunity. And we invite them to post pictures of themselves and their families. And, so anyway, those are ways that we engage and we encourage. And we also would like our faculty to reach out to the students. And I think it's a good idea if faculty would call students before class starts. And usually you're getting a voicemail, you're getting an answering machine, but at least the student hears your voice. And there's something very reassuring about the human voice. And so we also now are starting to use Zoom or Google Meet at the beginning of a class. So the students can see what the professor looks like and the way the professor talks and interacts, and then students can all see each other and the faculty member can see them. And so I think it's a really good way of using synchronous. And then some of our faculty also use synchronous at the end of a class so that they can ask students for feedback, what really worked well, what would you like to change? What was the most important thing that you took away from this class? So you might think about using those kinds of video conferencing opportunities. Now, just one thing that I did hear from one of our board members who's a dean at a seminary, and she said that her faculty were so intimidated about having to go online that they used Zoom and they simply lectured on Zoom. So they basically continued their classroom model, but through Zoom, and the seminarians uniformly gave them terrible marks. It was so boring. So I think we have to be careful, if we're used to teaching in front of a class, not to just replicate that with the technology. So the last part of key is the why, and that stands for you as the faculty member. And the role of faculty online is different than the role of faculty generally in a classroom. So we compare it. We say there's the sage on the stage, which is the classroom. And then we have the guide on the side, which is the mentor, the facilitator. So distance education is more of the guide on the side if you're a faculty member. You're mentoring, you're encouraging, you're promoting, but you're not up there lecturing day after day after day. So, some faculty like that and other faculty don't. They prefer to be the sage on the stage. That's what they're accustomed to. Also, our faculty talked about rubrics, the role of a mentor, how to deal with cultural diversity in the classroom, how to evaluate reading assignments to make sure the students are understanding what they need to understand. So that was the why of the key. They also did a wonderful kind of synchronous get together of everybody who'd been in all 4 weeks of the training module. And so it was really informative for me and for the rest of our faculty. We also did surveys at the end of each week so that we could get some feedback from the students. And of course, our students were professors. So, it was really helpful to us. So that was basically the outline of our training module. It was gratifying in 2018 that Pope Francis issued a new document on ecclesiastical universities and accepted distance education, which I'm sure you know by now. I think he recognized that this is a way to reach the peripheries. So anyway, so that was a breakthrough, and you know, was gratifying. So we also reach the peripheries because of doing distance ed. So we, as I mentioned, we have a lot of military. They're all over the world. The military archbishop is on our board. He's, you know, has a global diocese. And then we also do a lot of prison ministry. So we, our programs are in 150 prisons across the country. We're the only Catholic provider on a digital tablet that is not connected to the internet, because prison inmates are not allowed to be on the internet. So, you know, we're very gratified by that. We also work with mission dioceses that don't have any Catholic higher education. So we offer scholarships to try to help the bishops educate lay people to assume leadership positions. So we're very happy about that. And, you know, perhaps there'll be other new opportunities for us to bring Catholic higher education. So anyway, I don't know if you have questions. Those are kind of the high spots that I wanted to mention.